Hey there, this is Rick with the Mercedes Diesel Guy channel, and this is my 1984 Volkswagen Vanagon barn find project. So I actually filmed a little bit this morning on cleaning up the headliner in the van, and like I said, I was just waiting here on some parts, so while I was inside having lunch, the parts I was waiting for arrived. So let me get a box cutter and we'll do a quick little unboxing here. Let's see what I got. Okay, so here's the box. As you can see, I did order from Rock Auto. This is not a, certainly not a paid endorsement here. Have ordered a lot of stuff from them in the past. Find that they do, they have good prices. Often, sometimes they kill you on shipping though. So, let's paper out of here. This was part of a larger order arriving in several boxes. So, what do I have in here? Wiper blades. A ton of wiper blades. Okay, as I recall, I think those were on sale. And they're cheap wiper blades, but I've only ever really used the cheap ones. Here is some hose. I think this is, yeah, this is 1/2-inch fuel line. But the big thing I was waiting for here, the starter. Now, basically this was about the cheapest starter I could find. Okay, so this is Remy, who I actually had not heard of before. I googled them, and supposedly the company's been around a long time. Let's take a look here. I suppose I should compare this against the old one, but you know, it's a Bosch. This is rebuilt, supposedly. I mean, it certainly looks new and clean. So I'm going to install this right now, and that's not going to take much. I really just need to bolt it in place, hook up a few connections here, and then we'll see what happens. Okay, I have the starter bolted in place there, and I really didn't want to, but I ended up having to remove the air box and the main intake hose there. Because although I was able to remove the starter and jam a wrench down there, I absolutely could not get it bolted back in place. So, so that is in place now. Earlier this week, I actually did get the new relays. Like I said, this is what was in there before. It was a 5-pin relay, which may or may not have worked, as well as a factory relay, probably original to 1984. But I got some brand new 4-pin relays, which I believe should duplicate the original relays here. And I removed the one, which I believe controls the fuel pump. I'm pretty sure it's this one. Don't quote me on that. So basically what I'm going to do now is hook up the battery and just really quickly see if it'll crank. So if it'll crank now, then I'll move on to the next step. Okay, so the new starter is in. And I have reconnected the battery, so, and I've removed what I believe to be the fuel pump relay. Now, I think the fuel pump isn't working anyway, but just to be on the safe side, I took that one out. So, basically I'm going to try to crank it. So I'm going to turn the key to the, not sure if it's the first or second position. If for whatever reason I hear the fuel pump prime now, that means I know I got the wrong relay, and I will just switch the, I will just pull the other relay and install, I'll pull the relay that's still installed and put one back in the other slot. So let's see what happens. Oh, the wipers just tried to come on. So that's a good sign, there's power. I did not hear the fuel pump, so let's see if it cranks. Nothing. But since the wipers moved so weakly, I think it actually might be a weak battery at this point. So unfortunately, looks like I'm going to have to possibly charge the battery. So I hooked up the battery charger, and the battery was still reading at about 93%, so that was a good sign, but confusing. I wiggled around the battery clamps, and I actually tried to crank it once again, and I did hear the starter click, but not turn. So I wiggled the battery clamps again. Maybe it's just a bad connection at the battery, so let's see if that made a difference. Okay, it's still clicking, but starter's not engaging. At least not yet. Okay, so I'm working on a new theory here. So clearly, at least the negative cable is not original, because this is the original battery negative cable, which would have mounted right down here. Now, that bolt was snapped off, and I'm not sure if they were replacing the cables because of a hard start problem, or maybe this problem originated after they replaced the cables, but it did not take long. The battery is now reading 100%, so I'm going to disconnect the charger. But I'm also going to disconnect the negative and hook up a battery and negative cable in the correct position. And I actually do have a brand new cable here. It's just a generic cable. I was able to free up this bolt. Like I said, it was snapped off clean. The head of the bolt was gone. But I sprayed a little bit of penetrating oil on it, grabbed the remainder of the bolt from below with a pair of vice grips, and I was able to get it free and just thread it out from the bottom in a couple of minutes. It was no big deal. So I am going to replace the battery negative cable and try again, see if that helps. So just to reiterate, the last time I had the battery hooked up, I would turn the key and I could hear the starter click. Now that means one of a couple of things. One, the new starter might be bad right out of the box. That's a possibility. I am not really counting on that at the moment, but it could be. Next, maybe the starter's just not getting quite enough power. Now that also could be the possibly hacked up positive cable, but let's see if replacing the negative cable had any effect. Once again, the battery is up to 100% charge right now. So I'm going to try that one more time. I don't know if you can hear it. I believe that clicking is the starter, not the relay. I don't think the relay is quite that loud. So I guess back to the drawing board. I may end up having to replace the battery positive cable, and we'll go from there. So I'm sorry this wasn't exciting. I was hoping that I'd get it to crank and maybe even start today, but it looks like that is increasingly not the case. So this is Rick with the Mercedes Diesel Guy channel, and I will keep making videos as this project moves on.